Former President Trump, as we mentioned a moment ago, won't be joining his fellow Republican presidential hopefuls at the second debate tomorrow night. And here's something interesting. We have new CBS polling that shows his reluctance to debate isn't really hurting him, at least not in the early voting states. Take a look at this. Our poll finds that in New Hampshire, Trump is up 37 points on his closest rival. That would be Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. In Iowa, that lead shrinks to a smaller but still quite robust 30-point advantage for the former president. Now, despite these gaudy numbers, our poll also finds the majority of likely GOP voters in Iowa and New Hampshire say right now they are considering Trump and, big word, and other candidates. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now from Los Angeles. Ed, what are the biggest takeaways for you on our new polling data?
Go back to that third graphic we were just showing the viewers, and I think that's the one that is the reason why these other non-Trump candidates still get out of bed in the morning and still are making the trip out here to California to hold this debate tomorrow night. Because if you add up there the 48 plus 31 or the 43 plus 34, that is larger than the less than a quarter of voters in those two early states that say they are only considering and will stand by the former president. So what do you have to do over the course of the next few debates that will continue to be held month after month? The next one at the Reagan Library north of here tomorrow. You have to find ways to get people off the stage so that you are one of the only few left standing by the time votes are cast in that caucus in mid-January in Iowa and then later in New Hampshire and beyond. And I would argue, based on our numbers compared to some of the ones that have been released in the last 2 weeks or so, this has got to give some relief to the DeSantis campaign that he appears to be the only guy in double digits besides the former president, even if he's still 30 or 37 points back.
Right. 30 points down in Iowa, 51-21, but 21 is better than DeSantis has shown in Iowa and other polls. Yeah. And it is clear that on the spectrum of trying to reach prospective Iowa caucus voters through the ground game and repetitive voter contacts, the DeSantis campaign, through its super PAC, leaning very aggressively into this. And for that reason, not only does Iowa, but the second debate and any contrast the governor might make with former President Trump, say on the issue of abortion, which historically has resonated in Iowa, might loom large.
Absolutely. And you can expect that the former governor, the former vice president, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, perhaps to some extent in different ways, will all bring up that issue of abortion, which the former president kind of walked into himself in a recent interview where he questioned whether any kind of early week ban was a good idea for the party or whether it was politically disastrous for them. Even if it is politically disastrous, it's important to social conservative voters in Iowa. It is to a lesser extent in New Hampshire, but certainly still seen as an important bedrock principle for the Republican Party. So you'll see some contrast there. I think, again, you got to think of his contest now, if you're a non-Trump Republican candidate, as a play in three parts, and we're still in Act One. Clear the non-Trump field, be the last person or one of the last two or three standing. Somehow then get past the former president, then somehow take on the Democratic nominee, expected, of course, to be President Biden. So if you are, and let's keep this up here for a second, if you're Mike Pence, you probably want to keep tussling with Vivek Ramaswamy and make him go away. If you're Tim Scott, you've probably got to take issue with some of the things DeSantis and Nikki Haley have been saying. If you're Chris Christie, you want to call out most of these guys who haven't necessarily completely divorced themselves from the former president. It's part of why he and Nikki Haley, for example, are doing better in New Hampshire, because they seem to find slightly more appeal among the moderate Republicans and the independents who can vote in that primary. Iowa's caucus, of course, is closed. And if you're DeSantis, you've got to continue to make the argument against former President Trump and keep Tim Scott, keep Vivek Ramaswamy and others at bay. And if you're Doug Burgum, you just got to find a way to stay on stage because he barely made it. So they all have short-term strategic things they got to accomplish in those 2 hours on the road to taking on Trump.
And it would seem for former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, this experience tomorrow evening at the Reagan Library, looking at where she stands in Iowa and New Hampshire, knowing that she might have a kind of toehold in South Carolina where she was the governor, tomorrow night might be very important for her.
Absolutely. Her and Pence, I would argue, probably can wrap themselves in the cloak of Reagan more than anybody else on that stage and make the argument that they are sort of that old school deep-rooted conservative Republican, someone who's not skewing or embracing the more populist rhetoric and wing of the party that now exists, and hope that in Iowa and in New Hampshire and in South Carolina and these other states, those old school Republicans that harken back to the days before the former president, Trump, might be hearing her and thinking that's exactly who I want. And look, she's seen some encouraging surveys in the last 10 days or so that suggest in head-to-head matchups, which matter about as much as a broken umbrella in a rainstorm, that she could conceivably beat former President Biden or current President Biden in a general election matchup, better than all the others. And so she can continue to make that argument too. That might help her.
Never without an umbrella, our Ed O'Keefe in L.A. Thank you very much. And a quick reminder, America Decides will be live from Simi Valley, California for the second Republican presidential debate. Join us for an hour-long preview at 5 p.m. Eastern and a post-debate breakdown. No one's going to have a breakdown. We're just going to break down the debate. That's at 11 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News.